So here we have C9 versus Kaboom in the first game of the first day. You can see the difference in top lane with Urgot wanting to go tanky versus the Bruiser Aatrox. Mid lane you have Vic wanting to scale up while Ryze has a medium game power spike. Bot lane is very similar in the fact that both are fairly aggressive with crit carries and engage heavy supports. Blabber has an early gank around the 3-minute mark towards the top lane. This really sets back the Kaboom top laner and lets Licorice flourish when he's got the pressure. Earlier in the game he makes advantage and ends up around 20 CS ahead. Through this gank, Ranger cannot find anything. The bot lane of Kaboom go aggressive, seeing the jungler up top lane and force Zeyzal out of lane and nearly force Sneaky out of lane too. However, because they did not also force Sneaky back, he was able to farm under turret while Zeyzal healed. They then engage, seeing that the Lucian's mana is low, and then when they back they get a BF sword, evening up the game. We see again Blabber attacking topside and forcing Xanthus out. Because of this, C9 get first tower and they get Rift Herald, but Kaboom answer with a solitary dragon. Sneaky gets the first kill when Zeyzal manages to double the pike. Blabber then attacks mid lane, forcing him to flash out and then releases the Rift Herald. He also brings Aatrox down and the 3 men manage to push him off the first mid tower and also allows Shelly to get a second charge at the second tower in mid lane. After a kill in the bot lane, Blabber gets caught out by a death brush, and to make the matters worse, he gets caught out, Zeyzal comes to defend him and then they end up killing Zeyzal in the end for a 2-for-0 trade. And ironically, same brush next to Aatrox gets caught out and Kaboom actually take the kill lead 3-2, but they are still massively behind in gold. This led them to end up chasing kills, and when they thought they found Jensen out of position, unfortunately for them this was a misread and C9 quickly collapsed upon them, winning the first big team fight. C9 then shaped as they were going towards the Baron but quickly peeled off to ace Kaboom and comfortably get on the second retry. With the Baron, C9 played very skillfully and forced Kaboom into some errors. Kaboom again were looking to pick somebody off when they got fighted around, and C9 managed to kill enough members to get this top wave. They brought it all the way into the tower and then took down the inhibitor tower, took down the inhibitor and won the game following Kaboom's aggression. Cloud9's second game versus Detonation Focus Me wasn't as comfortable as they'd hoped it would be. They didn't get the Aurelia early game kill against Zig, so eventually he was just freely allowed to wave clear. The Urgot got pretty tanky and the Lissandra was to face him in wave clear and also safety and mobility. They also needed AP damage. The other issue is Tom Kench gave the Varus multiple get out of free clauses. Although C9 actually started the game much better off, they unfortunately lost the first team fight when they tried to take Rift Herald too early. This allowed Detonation Focus Me to capitalise, killing 3 members and releasing Shelly onto the mid tower instantly. This gave Detonation Me a mid game spike. And when Tom Kench actually Visual Voyages into mid lane, it allows Ziggs, Varus and Tom to get a kill and take the second mid tower. After a team fight around Drake, Detonation Me have another fight around mid lane Baron to again which they win, and this allows them to go into the Baron for the first time in the game. With the Baron buff they managed to take the mid inhibitor. After the Baron has worn off, a missed Ziggs ulti allowed Cloud9 to eventually go on the offensive and try and get some kills. This also gives Cloud9 some much needed breathing space and a time to reset afterwards as Detonation Focus Me resets. Cloud9 manages to find a team fight and evens up the score and even regains the gold lead in the game. Through this, Sneaky then tries to get a Elder Drake attempt, only to be caught out by Detonation Focus Me. This causes Cloud9 to lose the Elder Drake, and they also lose the following team fight, and then Detonation Me goes on to get the Baron. They quickly take the mid inhibitor tower and inhibitor itself. They then go back to the right inhibitor and retake that. Unfortunately, from this point onwards, they stay too long trying to poke down with the Ziggs, bouncing bombs, Varus arrows and the cannon Baron minion. I also duplicated this clip so you could look at the Sandra walking up the top of the screen. Licorice now finds himself up behind the enemy team and the Varus is coming towards him. This is a perfect opportunity for him to gank. Although Tom Kent managed to eat him, it means that other members of Detonation Me are vulnerable to the whole 5 team of C9. This causes a quick team victory for C9, and from this they go on a march down directly through the mid lane and take the enemy inhibitor to win the game, resulting in a 2-0 overall day. G-Rex also had a really great showing, but Gambit played awfully in their game, and I think the next time they play, Gambit will really be looking to combat them and play differently. Gambit's draft was off against them, and that caused them to lane really poorly against them. Day 2, and I'm really only going to cover the big game, the one that was the only upset of the first 2 days. First, I'm going to look at the drafting phase. Firstly, I really disliked the Olaf pick, especially because when you look at the Scion, the Scara, the Zillion, the Varus and the Tom Kench, they all have engagement property, including this, the Scion and the Tom Kench getting tanky and the Zillion reviving. I feel like Akali had a really hard time bursting people down. The first kill actually went G2's way, and it was the only kill they got the whole game. What you can see here, Wadid goes on a really hyper aggressive move, just waiting for that Tom Kench to move up. He eventually gets it, but then he pulverized flashes the Varus. This ends in the kill to the Olaf, but they really couldn't get anything going in the bot lane after this solo kill. The next thing we see is an issue that G2 had all game, and that's where they tried to focus down the Zillion, who popped that revive ulti and just got out of dodge. The resulting team fight afterwards left G2 all over the place, which allowed Supermassive to get their first kill of the game and eased pressure for them, as G2 had quite a good early game till this point. And Supermassive also got the mid lane outer tower through this too. Unfortunately, the next clip is a bit like deja vu. Again, G2 went all in the mid lane. They didn't get anything from it, and Supermassive had a turnaround team fight which allowed them to pick up extra kills. From this, they dropped Shelly and they managed to get all the way to break the inhibitor tower, but they did not actually break the inhibitor. From this point onwards, Supermassive had great control of the game and kept forcing pressure. From this, they then took complete Baron vision, making G2 come into a unwarded site. Here you can see the resulting team fight from this. Unfortunately, Wonder also failed on his ultimate, and that really let Supermassive back in a prolonged team fight. After this, Supermassive turned onto the Baron, and with the Tom Kench and Zillion blocking all paths, G2 just had to let the Baron go to Supermassive. After superbly playing the Baron, they did not give G2 a single chance. They eventually catch out Perks defending this last upstanding inhibitor tower and inhibitor, which allows them to get the initial kill. They then go on to beat G2 in the team fight and end the game quickly. On paper, this was a big upset, but it actually was a well-deserved win. Other results of today's games: EDG won both games, which wasn't surprising at all. But if G2 only comes second in the group, they are most likely to face Cloud9 in the best of 5 playoffs, which means one of the favourites on paper will not make it to Worlds group stage. I really think there's a lot of upset opportunities here. I think G2 Esports will potentially come back and maybe get a tiebreaker. I think that Detonation Focus Me could upset Cloud9, although I kind of hope they don't. And I think Gambit was quite disappointing in their game against G-Rex, so I'm really interested to see how they play tomorrow. Overall in Group A, I think Edward Gaming is just a cut above the rest, and I can't see anything changing in there. Finally, if you stayed this far, I want to say thank you very much. I'm not going to ask you to like and subscribe or all that crap, but if you'd leave a comment, I'd love to respond to you. This was quite a challenge for me getting this out. I'm really working hard to make my videos better in quality, but at the same time I am quite short on time, so it's a bit of a learning curve for me, but I really would appreciate feedback or anything to do with that. Talking about being short on time, I probably won't be able to make 3 videos. I'll probably only have to do 1 video for each game. Again, if it's a upset or something like that, I'll probably pick those games over like UGG, who just smashed first game, had a couple of issues, but then it was quite an easy game for them in the second game too. So I don't see the point in covering that when I've got limited time. Again, just like to say thank you, and it is.